everybody, to Ignite Humanity Live. I'm so happy to be here because I'm your host and the person who is igniting humanity around the globe. I'm Lady JB, and I am so committed to making a difference on the planet by igniting the lives of individuals. We, each and every one of us, has to decide that we can ignite humanity, and this show is all about ways that you can do it at home, your way, your unique way, and you can do it one tiny little increment at a time, igniting people's lives, and that ultimately is going to turn into a powder keg of power, and we are going to ignite humanity. And why are we doing it? Well, because each and every one of us has a responsibility to ignite the lives of others, because if we don't, then who's going to do it? And so many people in this world, on this planet right now, are consciously aware of the importance of shifting the needle, of making a paradigm shift, an absolute categoric new change in humanity so that we have a future for ourselves, a future for our children, a future for generations to come. And I think many people, and the people who are showing up on this show, are all committed to igniting humanity, because we know that when we ignite ourselves, we ignite others. And when we ignite others, we make a massive, massive impact. Now, we've got 7 principles when it comes to igniting humanity, and my top number 1 favorite is we need to ignite what's possible. We need to be thinking about what's possible for ourselves, because too many times we've been told what we can't do, what we're not allowed to do, where we can't go. And the truth is, all it is holding us back in what is possible. Imagine if we could ignite the minds of everyone on what's possible in the world, how they can invent new things, solve problems, end world hunger, fix the climate change, allow the polar ice caps to not melt. Imagine the things that we could do if we were igniting the possibilities in the minds of others, and we can do that one person at a time. And I'm so committed to doing it through our schools. We are building schools in Indonesia, Cambodia, and Pakistan to start igniting the lives of students and igniting literacy, because when you are learning, you are growing, and when you are growing, you are manifesting, and when you can manifest, you can make a big difference. And so we'd always love for you to help with our donations to our schools. We are pulling plastic out of the landfills and using that to make bricks to build our schools, and that's going to ignite the children's lives in those communities. If you want to be a part of that, and we'd love to have you, ignitehumanity.life/donate is where you can go and buy bricks, and we'll go into the walls of our schools. Now, $1 buys a single brick. Imagine the impact you could make with $10, $100, or $1,000 towards a school. Each and every school takes 35,000 bricks. So we've got a lot of work to do, folks. So if you'd like to be a part of that initiative, ignitehumanity.life/donate is where you can make a big impact. And that impact means you are going to change people's lives. Now, a lot of people are measuring success by dollar amounts and by how much money they have. And what we want to do is shift the paradigm on that and tell you that you can make impact, and that is priceless. There's a treasure in amount of impact that you can make, and there's no dollar value that you can add to that. All right, well, let's jump into the show, because we're going to be talking about paradigms and shifts and all kinds of ways that you can do some amazing things. Our guest right now, Julian Valderrama, is the author of 3 amazing books about manifesting desire. That's a big word, desire. Talk a little bit about that. What does it mean to manifest desire?
Well, I think it's a pretty simple concept. You know, we are all individuals. We were born under different circumstances, and life will make you experience things that are negative.
It's true.
There's no denying that. And actually, there's a physics lesson on that. Most people who have taken a physics class, they learn about entropy, but they haven't actually or factually fully comprehended what entropy does to people's lives.
What is it?
Entropy.
Entropy. I don't know this word.
So the law of entropy says that all atomic structures in the universe, or all energy, right? We are all made of atomic matter. And that atomic matter is subject to entropy, which is a law of physics. And what it does, not to try to take away the scientific jargon, essentially what it does is that all energy in an atomic structure loses energy and eventually loses all of it.
Wow.
Right. So
I miss physics.
So yeah, it's something that I've had a passion for. And how do we connect this to desire?
Yeah.
Well, because entropy will create chaos in your world if you're not paying attention. I'll give you an example. In hospitals, people who will, they'll be put on a bed, right? If they sit there for a long time, what happens to them?
They'll atrophy. They'll start to get more ill.
They get bed sores.
Oh, right.
Right? So what are they telling us? Like, you need to get up and move. So essentially what the law of entropy says is that any atomic structure that's sitting still, not moving, without activity, will pay the price by losing energy. Just standing, doing nothing. So you can think of a person who may be negligent in their health. Maybe they sit down, watch TV, eating junk food, not taking care of themselves. Entropy will come in and make that situation a lot worse.
I mean, I didn't know this word, but I do know this concept. I talk about it sometimes about neglect.
Yeah.
If you neglect a plant, it will die. If you neglect a pet, it will die. If you neglect your home, it will start to dwindle. If we neglect ourselves, and we've been neglecting humanity, really, think pre-pandemic, the kinds of things that were important to us. I mean, they were really quite trite in a lot of ways. We were neglecting the fact that we have to be thinking about our future.
Yes.
We're neglecting the environment. We're neglecting a lot of things. So this entropy, neglect, they kind of go hand in hand, that things will start to dissipate and start to die or start to...
Correct. Exactly. That's precisely the observation. And I like to approach it from a physics standpoint because, when we were born, we grew up to adjust and act in harmony with the law of gravity because we're afraid to fall, even today, and we know. Now, if you see somebody fall from a 10-story building, would you say that the law of gravity murdered them?
No.
What happened?
Gravity just was the law.
Exactly.
The law was in play.
Exactly, precisely. So this awareness of entropy will bring massive awareness to humanity if they understand that this law is always at work in their lives. Then they have the moral obligation to achieve their desires. It's no longer, you should consider going after your goals and dreams. I want to encourage you to go after your dreams and desires. In fact, because of this law, we have the moral obligation to go after our dreams and desires, because if we don't, the reverse starts to happen.
I like what you're saying, because a lot of people have a dream or have a desire and they don't nurture it, they don't address it, and what happens? It dies.
It does.
And so desire, actually, what you're saying is an entity in itself. And I think this is fascinating because desires, I feel, come to us as a life force.
Yes. So that's an excellent observation, because when we have desires, we use our imagination to see an end result. Consciousness, it's a form of energy. It projects outward. It's like light. We're literally entities that are projecting light, and light illuminates darkness. Entropy is essentially a symbol of darkness that's integrated into the universe. You got to have both light and darkness, right? You can take it as God creating almost like a game. So if there is a game, there's a goal, there's a dream, there's a journey. And through that journey, there's tools, there's a pathway, there's something to accomplish. But if you don't follow the path, if you don't follow that journey, and in essence, the desire to finish the game, then you end up atrophying, just like you said. And you will not get your dreams or desires. And so factually, our dreams and desires is what God has given us.
Gifted us, right? Given to us.
And what do most people do with dreams and desires?
A lot of times they talk themselves out of it.
And guess what to do on that? Entropy.
Right.
Because that's entropy's job. It's telling you, you cannot, you won't. It's lying to you. But
Physics is lying to you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
No wonder I didn't take that class. Because I love the idea of anything is possible. I talked about it at the top of the show. One of the principles of Igniting Humanity is to instill the idea of what's possible.
Yes.
Is there a physics or is there a theory around how do we activate possibilities?
Of course. Again, it just goes back to desire. when you hold on to a vision long enough, it saturates your mind. It saturates your entire being. And essentially, because physics teaches us that particles are energy that are spread thin through time and space. This was proven by an experiment that gave way to the basics of quantum mechanics. And it says that a particle, a tiny ball of energy, right? When you think of atomic structures, first and foremost, they are waves of energy spread thin through all space and time. And this has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. I want to quote here Nikola Tesla. He was very clear because he said that every individual in the universe, you and I, everyone watching, that we are an engine and that we are geared into the will work of the universe, and that your influence, so your thinking, your feelings, your actions.
Are you hearing this, people? Your thinking, your feelings, your actions.
Yeah, the mechanics of the body and who we are and how we function. That energy is atomic and is spread thin through all space and time. And that's why he said that your influence extends into infinite distance. So,
wow.
Right, how come we don't know that?
I was going to say, like, why is it just now we're hearing so much about this? This quantum mechanics, quantum beliefs, quantum, what did I hear just recently, like about the quantum attraction? Like, these are all things that are not new because they've been here a long time, but they're really becoming new. And that's why I really wanted you on this show, is because people are here listening and they're saying, I'm hearing these terms, but I don't get it. I don't understand. Where did it all come from? Who just made this up? Mm-hmm. But it isn't new. It's been around forever, but we're just now really understanding it.
You are correct. And I think that one deserves a much bigger answer that can be given here in 20 minutes. But if I can wrap it around one answer, or a simple answer for everyone to understand, is that if there's a God of light, of love, of joy, and peace, right? Entropy exists as a contextual field for us to experience life. Then also darkness and everything that represents the opposite of what is good has to also exist for good to exist in a contextual field. And that's for us, for you and I, to have the opportunity not to create paradise as God has defined it, but to try to create paradise and love and joy as we perceive it, as what, in a way, given us the opportunity to prove our love, our joy, our peace, to show who we truly are. Now, that doesn't mean that it's always going to work like that. Obviously, with the state of the world, as you mentioned, we see a lot of chaos, a lot of entropy is in place. It seems like it's saturating the world, doesn't it?
It's true. But again, if we're not paying attention, if we're not caring about each other, if we're not listening to the cries of our children, the cries of our neighbors, the cries of our nation, then we're just really allowing everything to... Yeah, we're allowing it. I think this show is really about no longer allowing. You talked about choice. Yeah. Share a little bit about that. You had a choice maybe in your life somewhere, and I like to talk about ignite moments, that moment where something happened that really helped define you. Did you have that moment where you had to make the choice between what society maybe has been teaching us, maybe what you've been told, maybe that was down that path of entropy, and yet you decided, I'm going to go this way?
Yes, absolutely. So many times we go through life experiences. So specifically mine, I was raised in a highly dogmatic, religious type of environment. And it came to a point where, as I was being taught a lot of this knowledge that they call truth, this is the truth, if you follow this truth. Now, what happens, I realized that a lot of this truth was mixed with inaccuracies. And because you begin to mix truth with inaccuracies, or many times write out lies, right? And then you start applying information or principles that are teaching you that they teach under the light of truth, and you continue doing so, but things are not working out. There's no result, right? The quality of your philosophy about life will determine the quality of your life. So that hit home run for me. It's like there's something wrong. I have to check to see what is going on. And many times, a lot of this dogmatic approaches to learning and teaching, on which we grew up under, will encourage individuals to just not look at everything else, not to expand their perspective, not to look at other people's point of view, that this right here is the only truth ever.
Right.
Right? And I came to find out that was highly detrimental. And I came to find out through, the experience of life. Essentially, in a very real sense, entropy took over my life. Things were not working out. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sleeping. I was relatively healthy, but emotionally I was always drained, tired, because I was in a routine where I was just hammering in on the same teachings, the same things that I was being taught, but nothing was working out. It's like if I told you, go to the gym, but lift pillows, you'll get some results. That's insane.
Good example.
Right. That's essentially what was happening. So I decided to expand my perspective and my perception by exploring as many different points of views as I could. On top of that, I also had to filter what I thought I knew was truth, and then compare that and contrast that to evidence.
Good
right?
point.
Yeah, I had to. And I started studying many books on success philosophy. I was looking for people who had the evidence of what they were talking about. I went to the sciences of success philosophy, the subconscious mind, the superconscious mind, how to program yourself, how to be positive, the benefits of having a cheerful attitude. Essentially, I had to really grind down and attempt to understand what creates success. Whether that's, I wasn't sleeping well. It's like, okay, my desires, I want to be able to sleep.
Yeah. And I think that's important because a lot of people are listening to you and they're like, wow, he's so intelligent. He's talking about things I don't really understand. But the cool thing is you dialed it right down to joy, sleeping well, happiness. I mean, those are things that everyone can relate to.
Yes.
It doesn't take a super scientist to realize that I want to be happy or I want to feel good or I want to sleep well. And those fundamental things is where you decided you wanted to get some answers and some clarity. I think that also is a good point because a lot of us just wait to hear what someone else just tell me what to do. Fill me in and I'll just be there. We're not really searching for our own unique answer. And do you find that in that search and in that discovery, you found things that you didn't even realize and yet they were the answers?
Of course, absolutely. Once you decide to expand your perceptions and your perspective by including other points of views, right? It makes you think about things. It makes you consider options. And when if you take a quarter and you flip a coin and you're always flipping tails and it's tails, 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 there's something wrong with the quarter.
Right.
If you have the proper quarter, even though you might flip tails, let's say 10 times, law of averages says you're going to flip that heads.
Right.
It's going to happen. So essentially, that's something I had to put into perspective. And coincidentally, I was able to access this training. And it wasn't, it wasn't hyper specific. It was like a form of meditation that was encouraged. And it was an audio, and it was using like a form of sound frequency. And you were supposed to just sit down and listen to it. And I did this with this one. And I had the most mind-blowing experience, where I went into a state of mind where I have absolute equanimity, where I felt love, I felt joy, I felt peace, I felt who I really was as an individual, as a person. And when this happened, it was such a high level state of consciousness. And this is something I tend to keep to myself because it's my own experience, right? So maybe challenging for other people to understand what I'm talking about here, but it was such a contrasting experience for me as far as what it meant to feel real happiness, real joy, real peace, to feel hopeful, and to have faith in your life. So when that happened, I had to question everything that I thought I knew was true that was going to bring me love, joy, or peace, or happiness, which is the foundation to just live a life.
Right, humanity and all of us. What's neat, what you said is that you had to think. And it made me think that why wouldn't we want to think? I mean, why would we want to come here and be on this earth and just follow a plan, a dogma, a message, just do what people tell us or why wouldn't we want to think? Why wouldn't we want to go down that discovery and use our brain, use this amazing organ we have in our body to think in ways that are going to make us have joy, happiness, desire, and peace? I mean, it's really a neat thing because many of us are just like going through the motions, but we're actually not using that organ for what it's designed for, which is to think about things that are ultimately only you can think for you, only I can think for me. And I think that is really one of the things we've surrendered to, is letting other people think for us.
Exactly. And ironically, going back to entropy will make people's circumstances so bad to a situation where they become desperate.
Right, grind them, right?
Yes, exactly. It will erode them. Whatever. Whether it's a relationship with a spouse, whether it's at work, maybe a job that they've been miserable for a very long time, and then it just keeps getting worse and worse. Maybe it's your health. And you're not, like you said, not thinking about what you're doing. Do you think about what you're thinking about? And do you think about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis? Are you being in the moment of what's going on? Are you examining your environment? How does it contrast to a person of success, right? So since we're little, we're not taught how to think.
That's right.
We're taught what to think.
Right, or how to follow.
Or how to follow, exactly. So it becomes a pattern that is cemented. And similarly, Nikola Tesla said that humanity's thinking is in an inexorable, in an agent where it's cemented. There's no movement. It's hard to change. And ironically, the laws of physics cement every mental agreement of consciousness. And it's hard to break through that. But he said it's new data, it's new knowledge, it's a new frequency, a new way of thinking that has to be introduced into the mass consciousness to change things. Because if you continue to think like you've always thought, you're going to continue to receive the same results.
Right, and what did Einstein say? The mind that created the problem can't think of the solution? Is that something like that? What was it? That's not the right quote, but it's something about the mind that you need a new thought to create the solution to a problem. So you need to be thinking in a new way to solve the problems. You can't just be thinking the same way.
I know exactly what you mean. He says something like, the same mind that created the problem cannot be the same mind that can create the solution.
Exactly, thank you.
and I'm paraphrasing.
Exactly, but the point is we have to evolve, which is really the second principle of igniting humanity, to evolve, to foster evolution, and we all need to evolve. And folks, it's really special that we're having this conversation because we want you to be thinking differently. We want you to be awakened to some new ideas and some new ways to think. And I find it fascinating that just by talking about ways to think and thinking about ways, it actually opens up all new kinds of concepts. And so that possibility thing sort of gets fostered. It's when we just stay, in that very rut, or we're not awakened to what's possible, that we just do ourselves a disservice.
Exactly. And this is something I learned through my process, is in order to break through that rut that you're talking about, that pattern that just keeps repeating every day, that's eroding your life, that is wearing you out, right? Whatever's happening, there's a way to break through that. And it's rather simple. It's accepting certain parameters of truth and how truth is created in people's minds. And the first acknowledgement that creates people's parameter of truth is understanding that we are born and we come into this world with a clean slate, no thoughts, no real awareness of what is going to happen. So we are at the mercy of the environment for which we are born under, right? Your parents, if you have family, cousins, uncles, and then you have to consider also the fact that your parents and down the bloodline came into this world through the same process. It's a highly subjective process where people gather data and information. It's not objective at all. So what happens? As you grow up, You're in a blank mind. These people in your life are essentially the gods, right, of your little baby. You can't help but to be groomed and programmed by whatever it is this environment is programming into the environment. Right? We go back to that same thinking. The quality of your thinking will determine the quality of your life. Just thinking about that logically and rationally should take anybody and think, you know what, maybe I need to rethink what I think is true. Many times we don't want to make our parents wrong, or our religious instructors, or our school instructors. But it comes down to your life. What is happening right here, right now? If you have challenges and situations, you have to be aware, you have to be in the moment if you want to break through your challenges and examine the entire contextual field of your experience. This is something that I was able to integrate, but many people can't even hope to think about these things because they weren't even taught to think about these things.
Right.
And actually, they do the opposite.
Yes.
They tell them to just think this way, and this is how it is, and there's no other option. Highly detrimental.
Well, you have written some really incredible books. You shared some amazing philosophies, and I really want to thank you for being here because I could just keep talking and unpacking and unfurlowing and really going down a beautiful rabbit hole of what's possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. You're a blessing.
Absolutely. Well, as you can see, Julian has some amazing ideas, suggestions, and new ways for you to be thinking, and that's what this show is all about. If you didn't understand some of the things that we talked about, that's awesome because that gives you the opportunity to think about what we shared so you can have some new thoughts, and what you think about and what you believe, that automatically contributes to the life that you will achieve. And so if you want to watch this episode again, please go to ignitehumanity.life/watch, and you can watch it again because I learned a lot just listening, and the idea of what's possible and what we're capable of and expanding our thinking. That's what is going to move the needle on humanity. Well, loving you all very, very much. We'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for coming to the show.
Now, more than ever, we need to come together to connect with one another. We need to feel the truth in who we are and let go of everything that's happened in the past. We need to empower every person on the planet and awaken hearts, enliven souls, come together, laugh, play, rejoice, connect, create, and love. It's time to ignite humanity. We want you to be a part of something that will impact the future for everyone. We want you to tell your story, share your Ignite moment, show people who you truly are. Be a part of igniting humanity and making a difference in the world and all of our futures.